Follow-up video to my last video on the A7C. If you have not seen that video, click here, go watch that first, then come on back. But my basic thesis in that video was that the A7C, while being a compact version of the A7 III, yes, it has less buttons and whatnot, but it has the exact same photo specs, and it actually has a few advantages on the video side with built-in gyro stabilization, has the flippy screen, and has the new color science that we're seeing in the A7S III. So A7C can do professional level photo and video, but it only has one SD card slot, so be warned. If you're doing anything like weddings or once in a lifetime stuff, don't do it with one SD card. Always shoot redundant. Just, yeah, duh. And while originally today I was gonna talk about the A7C as a photography camera, again, I think we kind of already covered that in the last video. The A7C, same exact specs as the A7 III, which is a professional level camera. The images coming out of the A7C are incredible. The images that I got of Morgan are just amazing, and also she's like super hot, huh? Look at that girl. Okay, so amazing camera. C stands for compact, so it's the A7 III, but the compact version. So yes, you lose some buttons, the grip is smaller, and the viewfinder on top has moved to one of those little rinky-dink viewfinders on the side. But again, it's a compact camera. You should expect that from a compact camera. But what I really want to talk about today, because a lot of you asked in the comments, what is the big difference between the A7C and the A7S III? Because that's kind of the next big jump, right? The A7C and the A7 III are in this little world where they're both professional level quality, and then the A7R4 is like the photo jump, and then the A9 is the next photo jump. But for video, it pretty much goes from the A7 III / A7C, and then it jumps to the A7S III. And maybe there's some of you out there, or a lot of you out there, that are looking at the A7S III and could probably, or maybe get away with having an A7C, because for the same price, you could have an A7C plus a pro quality lens for what you would buy just the body of the A7S III for. So yeah, today we're just gonna highlight the big differences between the two. Maybe you're a person that wants to go for the A7S III because it makes sense, or maybe the A7C is actually a better choice for you because there's one major advantage to the A7C over the A7S III, and we'll get to that. Before we do though, hit that like button below. Just real quick, shoot down there, like button. Thanks. Okay, so pitting these two cameras against each other, it seems silly at first, because the A7S III at $3,500 is almost double what the A7C is at $1,798 or $1,800. And the A7S III is heralded as this incredible camera that we've all been waiting years for. How could the A7C even compare, even close, at half the price? Well, it actually compares pretty decently. First up, we're gonna show some side-by-sides of the A7C and A7S III. I want you to see if you can tell the difference between the two. I went out to the fountain here first near our house because lots of moving water, tough for cameras to shoot, and a really good test. So starting off our little side-by-side at 24 frames a second, can you tell which camera is which? One of these cameras is $3,500, the other is $1,800. You might see the difference, especially if you're looking at this on a large screen, but you might also notice that it's pretty damn close, and the A7S III is on the left. And again, looking at them side by side, now that you know which is which, they're shockingly close. All right, next side by side, we're up on the mountain. This is when we were doing that photo shoot with Morgan and Eleanor. We're still at 24 frames a second. Which is the A7S III and which is the A7C? Drum roll. The A7S III again on the left and the A7C on the right. Again though, really shockingly close when you just look at them side by side like that. Then up to the very top of the hill, and now we're looking at some good dynamic range. We're looking at some really good colors. Which is which? Again, one of these cameras is twice the price of the other, or almost twice the price. And the A7S III it's still on the left. You thought I was gonna switch them, but I didn't. I kept them on the same side the whole time. I tricked you. Next though, let's check out some slow-mo. This is where we're starting to see our first big differences between the two. The A7S III can do 4K at 24, 30, 60, 120 frames a second, 422 10-bit. It's it's a beast. It's a video beast. Well, the A7C can do 4K at 24 and 30 frames a second, but when it jumps to 60 frames a second, it drops down to 1080, and then it can also do 120 frames a second at 1080, but in 8-bit. So now back to the Fountain, and looking at them side by side, you can see that the A7S3 is of higher quality. I've taken the A7C footage and I've actually upsampled it to 4K so you guys can see the side by side. But yeah, I mean, the A7S3 is a video monster. It's a video camera. That's why it can do those crazy high frame rates and bit rates. The A7C is a hybrid camera. It's for photo and video. And this is kind of where we start seeing that big difference. But for video quality, you can kind of see they're not miles apart when we're in good lighting or controlled lighting. So a scenario like this where I have a big light, this is all controlled. I could set the A7C or A7 III up in this same scenario and it would look pretty damn good. I'm very bummed that I didn't do that to show you. But if I had, it would look very similar to this. The A7C and A7 III would look very similar to this in these lighting scenarios. Now, where the A7S really starts to take the lead is in lower light situations. The A7S has a 12 megapixel full frame sensor. The A7C has a 24 megapixel full frame sensor. So that sounds weird, but I drew you a picture to explain why that's important. This is the A7C. Full frame sensor, lots of pixels. So if you're trying to put lots of pixels into a full frame, the pixels themselves have to be smaller. Each pixel is smaller. Whereas the A7S III, same full frame sensor, but less pixels, so each pixel is larger. And what that means is that the pixels on the A7S III can let in more light or can absorb more photons than the pixels on the A7C, smaller pixels. So when things start going lower light, the A7S III it's just a month. Here's the A7S III out by the Fountain, middle of the night, 16,000 ISO. And you can see it actually still looks pretty damn good. Unfortunately, I had to send the A7C back before I could do that same test, but trust me, it could not hang with that test at all. So on the video side of things, yes, the A7S III is incredible. It's top of the line. It is the best of the best in this size of a camera. But in good lighting scenarios where it's well lit or decent lighting, the difference between the two, not so big. Then low lighting comes along or tougher lighting scenarios, and that's where the A7S III continues to shine, where the A7C will start to lose quality. But there's a flip side to this coin, and it's actually a really important caveat to this whole comparison, and that's the photo side. Because again, the A7S III as a video camera, it doesn't do photos great because it's only 12 megapixels. Now, mind you, the photos are beautiful for online, for social media kind of stuff. The photos are gorgeous, really nice, really impressive low light performance. But at 12 megapixels, I couldn't do any of my work on a 12 megapixel camera. 24 megapixels is kind of that sweet spot. I normally do most of my work on the R series camera, so much higher megapixels, but 24 megapixels for weddings, for most type of work, I would say 24 megapixels is plenty. 12 though, not gonna cut it in a professional scenario. Unless you're getting paid for social media, in which case, I guess that would be a you know what I mean. But for a lot of people, this might be the deal breaker on the A7S III, on that jump to go from the A7 III, A7C line to the A7 III, A7S III. So many A's. This might be that thing where you go, well, if I buy the A7S III, then I have to carry that camera and another camera to do photos with me, which I actually like a lot. I like to walk around with a video primary camera, a camera that's just for video, and I have another camera that's just for photos. But for a lot of people, especially if you're out traveling, you might want one camera that can do both things really good rather than another camera that can do one at just a stupid high level, but the other at just kind of a meh level. And for that, I also drew you another picture. This is kind of how I see it. See the A7S III really good at video, top of the line, best of the best, but in photos, a 5. Meh. 12 megapixels. It's beautiful. The photos coming out of it are gorgeous, but at 12 megapixels, Whereas the A7C, For video, like a 7.5, really top-notch professional quality, maybe an 8 even, but top-notch quality. And for photo, a 9. The A7 III is the only thing I would really put above the A7 III is the A7R4, and it's purely based on that higher resolution. In most scenarios, the difference between those two, negligible, and this is probably almost a 10, but yeah, the A7C and A7 III, really good photo, really good video. The A7S III, really good video. The best of the best, but just kinda meh on the photo side. This chart is really the point of this video. The difference between these two cameras, between the A7C and A7S III, is that, again, the A7S III, best of the best video camera, but there's a big caveat in that if you're gonna own the A7S III, it's your video camera. It's not your photo camera. Unless you're purely shooting for social media and you don't care to have higher resolution photos. But if you want one camera that can do both at a really high level, the A7C is almost half the price of the A7S III, so you could get the A7C plus like a really good lens for the same price as just the body of the A7S III, and you might actually be better served because your A7C can do really high level photo and video over getting a camera that's, again, specifically for video. So what am I doing? I'm actually probably gonna buy both. I'm looking at the A7C. I was gonna order it this week, but then all the rumor sites started chatting it up and talking about the A7 IV, and I would be really bummed if I bought the A7C and then the A7 IV was announced like a month later. So I'm not sure exactly what I'm gonna do, but I will probably buy the A7C as my takeout photography camera when we go vlog, and as a second angle for this setup. So second angle, kind of that side angle that I like to do, and a top down angle, I would use the A7C for that as well. I'm on the fence, but I'm leaning towards just buying it, and maybe I'll sell it if the A7 IV comes out and there's something mind-blowingly different. Let me know what you guys think in the comments though. I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this. Is the A7S III make sense, or does the A7C make more sense because it's a hybrid that can do both really well? But then, yeah. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'm very curious. I'll see you later. Again, hit the like button. Do it real quick, super fast. Just like. All right, see ya.